Some people may ask, is alcoholism a disease or a choice? According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, nearly 29.5 million Americans aged 12 and older had alcohol use disorder in 2020. Alcohol misuse contributes to thousands of deaths each year and affects millions of families across the U.S. Most people know someone who has struggled with addiction, whether it's a family member, a friend, a coworker. Alcoholism impacts individuals, families, and communities. I researched scholarly medical journals and government health organizations to better understand the ongoing debate about whether alcoholism is a disease or a choice. Although taking the first drink is a personal choice, scientific evidence shows that alcoholism develops into a chronic brain disease that changes brain function and requires medical treatment. Today I will discuss why do many people believe alcoholism is a choice, scientific evidence showing alcoholism is a disease, and why recognizing alcoholism as a disease leads to better treatment and recovery. Why some people believe alcoholism is a choice. All right, letter A. Drinking begins with a personal decision. Individuals choose whether to consume alcohol the first time. Social influences such as family, friends, and culture encourage drinking. Letter B. Personal responsibility remains important. Individuals must decide whether to seek treatment. Recovery requires commitment, counseling, and healthy lifestyle changes. Letter C. Some people believe calling alcoholism a disease removes accountability. Critics argue the disease model excuses poor decisions. However, research shows addiction changes the brain and makes stopping much more difficult than simply choosing to quit. Although alcohol starts with a choice, researchers show repeated alcohol use physically changes your brain. Scientific evidence supports alcoholism as a disease. Alcohol changes your brain chemistry. Knob and Volko explained that repeated alcohol use changes the brain's reward, motivation, and self-control systems. These brain changes increase cravings and reduce a person's ability to stop drinking. Genetics also contribute to alcohol use disorder. Verhulst, Neely, and Kendler found that genetics account for approximately 50 to 60% of a person's risk of developing alcoholism. Individuals with a family history of alcoholism definitely have a greater choice of developing the alcohol use disorder. Alcoholism is recognized as a medical disease. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism classifies alcohol use disorder as a chronic medical condition. The Journal of the American Medical Association recognizes alcoholism as a disease requiring medical treatment rather than simply a lack of willpower. Withdrawal demonstrates physical dependence. Helling and colleagues explain that withdrawal symptoms and changes in brain chemistry make recovery significantly difficult. Long-term treatment is often necessary because relapses are common with chronic diseases. Since alcoholism changes both the brain and the body, understanding it as a disease helps people perceive appropriate treatment. Understanding alcoholism as a disease improves their recovery. It reduces stigma. People are more likely to seek professional help when addiction is viewed definitely as a medical condition. Families are more likely to provide support instead of just blaming the alcoholic themselves. Effective treatments are available. Medical care, counseling, behavioral therapy, medications, and definitely support groups are all to improve recovery. Like diabetes or heart disease, alcohol use disorder often requires long-term management. Education can also save lives. Learning the warning signs allows earlier intervention. Encouraging treatment can prevent alcohol-related injuries, illnesses, and deaths. Conclusion. Review. Today we discussed why do some people believe alcoholism is a choice. Scientific evidence showing alcoholism is a disease. Why does alcoholism as a disease improve treatment and recovery? Although taking the first drink may be a choice, alcoholism develops into a chronic brain disease that changes how the brain functions and should be treated like other serious medical conditions. By understanding alcoholism through scientific research instead of just judgment, we can reduce stigma, encourage treatment, and help more people recover before addiction destroys lives. These are my oral citations. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, alcohol use disorder is a chronic medical condition. A 2016 study by Knob and Volko published in the Lancet Psychiatry found that repeated alcohol use changes the brain's reward system. Helig and his colleagues explained that withdrawal symptoms changes the brain chemistry, make quitting alcohol way more difficult. According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, alcoholism should be viewed as a disease rather than simply a lack of willpower. Finally, a 2015 study by Verhulst, Neely, and Kendler found that genetics account for approximately 50 to 60% of a person's risk for developing alcohol use disorder. The reason why I chose this topic is because it's close to home. My mother has been dealing with this disease for several years, yet we still manage to continue through. Thank you.